Let this burn in your bones. In Deuteronomy 8:18 it says, He gives you power to get wealth. That's not advice, that's a ruling from heaven. If you never heard your father say it, hear it now. Heaven assigned power, not pity. There's a moment when silence becomes a curse. And you've been wearing it so long you thought it was humility. But humility never emptied a house, fear did. What if your lack wasn't punishment, but programming passed down in every unsaid word? He gives you power to get wealth. That's not a someday promise. It's an order already written in the language of your blood. If your family never declared it, you inherit their silence, not their blessing. You inherit the echo of unspoken prayers, rooms where faith died in a whisper, doors locked by the absence of a decree. He gives, you take, or you lose. That's the transaction no one taught you, because they feared the sound of their own authority. Most people beg for mercy while heaven waits for a command. Most believers fast for bread, but never dare to decree abundance. And so, their walls echo emptiness, not because God withheld, but because they never called for what was already theirs. Wealth never leaves heaven. It waits for a voice, yours. The only lock on your future is your refusal to speak the password God already gave. It is written that He gives you power to get wealth. That's the oxygen of destiny. Power was never your idea, it was His. The throne of God does not consult your credit score, your family history, your past mistakes. He gives you power, and that power responds to your voice, not your fears. Poverty is not spiritual, it's hereditary silence. Who told you to play small and call it holy? Who whispered that suffering is sacred and abundance is rebellion? You didn't come here to survive, you were sent here to declare what heaven already decided. If you never say it, you never see it. If you never break the silence, you inherit the struggle of every ancestor who died without a decree. Speak it now, say it until your walls shake. I receive the power to get wealth. Don't just hope, declare. Don't just wish, command. Let every demon that guarded your inheritance hear you break the code they feared you'd discover. Let every voice that mocked your dreams remember this moment as the night you became dangerous. God gives you power, you give it a voice. That's the deal. The courts of heaven respond to the sound of a decree, not the noise of desperation. Your bloodline remembers the words you speak and the silence you tolerate. Let the silence break. There's a weight to every declaration you make. Each syllable is a seed, and seeds don't apologize for becoming forests. He gives you power to get wealth. Let it echo in your bones. Let it chase out every poverty memory hiding in your house. If your father never said it, you say it for him. If your mother died with unsaid prayers, let her blessing live in your mouth. The grave is full of unsaid words. Don't let your legacy become another tomb of potential. Most people pray for crumbs when God wrote the bakery in their name. They settle for survival because nobody ever challenged the silence in their house. Break it now. Speak what God spoke. I receive the power to get wealth. I will not inherit silence. I inherit the word. Comment it, write it below, out loud, as a memorial against the poverty you never chose. Share this declaration until the air in your house learns the sound of breakthrough. Speak it every morning, every night, every time fear tries to put your tongue back in chains. This is not positive thinking, this is legislation. What heaven legislates, hell cannot veto. The silence that owned you dies the second you declare what God already decided. He gives, you declare. The wealth you were promised is listening for your voice, nothing else. God's word did not make room for doubt, for maybe, for someday. It's present tense, active, alive. He gives you power to get wealth. If you keep silent, you don't just lose your promise, you hand it to whoever dares to declare. What are you waiting for? A sign, a crisis, a collapse? The only thing standing between you and abundance is the sound barrier of your own voice. Break it now. Declare, I receive the power to get wealth. I will not be silent. I unlock what God locked in my bloodline. I call it forth. Speak for the sons and daughters who haven't found their voice. Speak for the generations that never got to live this moment. Speak for your own soul, the one that's been waiting for someone to believe heaven more than their history. Heaven is not neutral, it's loaded, it's waiting for a decree. If you never speak the word, what happens to the wealth heaven assigned to you? Who takes the place God wrote in your name if you won't call it by name? There's a window open right now, and the only thing that will close it is your refusal to break the silence. Don't let your children inherit your fears. Let them inherit your voice. Speak what heaven said first. Let it begin. Say it again. Let your house hear what heaven already decided. If you leave now, the doorway closes, but if you stay, you'll discover the activation code that changes everything. Wealth and riches are in your house, not someday, not if you pray harder, now. The walls around you have been listening for a new sound, a declaration that won't apologize for abundance. If power was already given, where is the evidence in your own walls? What's keeping riches at the doorstep instead of at your table? Why do your hands carry the labor but your heart never dares to call for overflow? The truth is this: your address was always marked for blessing, but heaven waits for a voice that isn't afraid to unlock the door. In Psalm 112 it says, "Wealth and riches are in his house." That's not a metaphor, it's not a poetic wish, it's a verdict. It's what's written over your threshold, whether you believe it or not. The blueprint for abundance was drawn in the Spirit before your name was spoken into this earth. Still, the silence of generations has kept the treasury out in the cold, knocking and waiting, wondering if anyone inside will shout back what God already wrote. Heaven doesn't withhold, you do. You lock the door with what you never say. You've been taught to pray for daily bread, when God declared riches already live in your house. Your lips were trained for survival, not for stewardship. The only permission wealth needs is the sound of your consent. Wealth and riches are in my house. Say it now. Let every room hear it. Let every shadow in the corner flinch. The key was never lost. It was never in another city. It's your voice that unlocks the vault, your voice that tells the angels what to deliver. Most will never know what they forfeited by keeping their mouths closed. They apologize for wanting more. They teach their children to shrink so their faith won't make others uncomfortable. The sound of lack becomes a lullaby, and the dream of abundance dies before it ever walks across the living room floor. But you were not sent here to inherit apologies. You were sent here to host abundance. You were born to echo what heaven is still saying. Wealth and riches are in your house. If heaven has declared riches, why do your floors still remember lack? Why do the walls carry the stains of fear? Who taught you to apologize for wanting more? Who said the table could only seat so many dreams? Every time you speak less than God's word, you let lack rent a room in your house. Every time you repeat the old scripts of just enough, you build a roof that blocks the rain. Open the door, let abundance step in. Wealth is not ashamed of your address, it's waiting for your invitation. Wealth and riches are in my house. Speak it until your house hears it. Write it below. Let every wall echo the truth. Declaration is not a wish, it's a summons. It's the law that moves unseen resources from potential to possession. You do not lack promise, you lack permission to speak what heaven said first. If you only pray for crumbs, crumbs come. If you declare a feast, the table fills. Bread is for the begging, riches are for the declaring. You can choose which sound will echo in your kitchen this season. The world is full of empty prayers, but very few full declarations. There's a difference between wishing and welcoming. Wishing hopes the rain will come. Welcoming opens the door before the storm. Wealth and riches are in my house. Let that phrase decorate the halls of your heart. Let it become a password that unlocks the next chapter. Comment your declaration below. Let your house be marked by what you spoke, not just what you survived. Speak it every morning until lack packs its bags. Repeat it every night until your dreams are no longer haunted by old debts and missed chances. Share this decree with someone who needs to open their door. There is no competition in the kingdom. There's enough to fill every house that dares to declare. The supply is not scarce, only the sound of boldness. Wealth and riches are in my house. I will not apologize for heaven's blessing. I will not mute my faith to comfort someone else's fears. Let every echo of poverty fade into the corners. Let every new day carry the announcement, abundance has moved in. My children will not inherit small thinking. They will inherit an atmosphere where God's word is the loudest sound. What if all you've ever lacked was a declaration? What if the blessing isn't late, it's locked out by your silence? The next key opens more than a door. It rewrites your family history. Speak until your blood remembers the promise. Declare until the rooms fill with evidence. Wealth and riches are in my house. I declare it until my walls remember. Let the old scripts fall away. Let fear lose its lease. Let every window rattle with the sound of abundance coming home. If your ancestors never dared to speak it, you speak it for them. If your past never made room for more, you be the first to open wide the door. Because heaven has already delivered, the only thing left is for your house to answer. Wealth and riches are in my house. I declare it. I let it in. I make no apologies, and I will not be silent. His blessing makes you rich. There's no hidden tax, no sorrow stitched into the seams. You don't have to trade your peace for provision, or lose your sleep just to keep what God gave you. If wealth has a curse, it didn't come from God's mouth. There are people who taught you to fear the overflow, who whispered warnings in the night. But their fear is not your inheritance. Who told you blessing comes with a bill? Who profits when you treat abundance as a threat instead of a birthright? In Proverbs 10:22 it says, "The blessing of the Lord makes one rich, and he adds no sorrow with it." Let those words sink into your bones. His blessing makes you rich. No sorrow, no penalty, no strings hidden behind the door. If pain arrived with your prosperity, check who sent the invitation. Heaven doesn't bait you with breakthrough just to watch you drown in regret. Hell can't bankrupt what heaven has blessed. The only curse that sticks is the one you agree to carry. Religion made you fear what God called good. They said riches were a trap. They said increase was dangerous. But the signature on your blessing reads, "No sorrow attached." You weren't called to live in lack or hide in the shadows of survival. You were marked by a promise that carries increase and erases every lie of loss. Speak it. The blessing of the Lord makes me rich, without sorrow, without loss, without fear. Somewhere along the way, someone taught you to apologize for favor. Someone told you to shrink so that others wouldn't feel small. But you were never meant to carry what doesn't fit your name. If blessing feels heavy, maybe you're carrying other people's guilt, not God's provision. Who told you blessing was dangerous? Who profits when you call abundance a trap? The enemy wants you to believe that favor is a threat, that more is a mistake, that joy is suspicious, but heaven disagrees. His blessing makes me rich. No sorrow can stick, no fear can follow. When the Lord blesses, increase comes clean. No fine print, no silent fee. If the world wants you poor, it's because poverty is easier to control than freedom. If pain comes with your blessing, it's not the Lord's signature, it's a forgery. He gives and he gives freely. You're not renting God's favor, you're inheriting what's already paid in full. Declare it now, out loud, write it below. I accept blessing without sorrow. I refuse the counterfeit curse. I break agreement with every lie that says prosperity is a punishment. My increase comes with peace. My provision is clothed in rest. I refuse to wear the debts of those who lost faith before me. The chains of false guilt break at the sound of truth. Comment your declaration. Tag someone who fears being blessed. Share this breakthrough. Speak until shame runs out of hiding places. Let your house hear a new story. Blessing without sorrow, favor without fear. The only price you pay is believing what God said first. If you inherit sorrow, you missed the signature on your blessing. You settled for a hand-me-down curse when you were written into the will of abundance. You don't have to pay for what's already been gifted. You don't have to trade sleep for salary or peace for progress. When God says increase, He means it for your wholeness, not your undoing. The next decree breaks what pain never could. Every time you declare His blessing, you break a generational debt. Every time you announce favor, you put eviction on every curse that tried to move in. His blessing makes me rich. No sorrow can stick. I carry what heaven signed, and I drop what guilt demanded. My hands are open for provision, but closed to every lie that says abundance must hurt. Heaven's blessing carries only increase, never penalty. The economy can shift, the markets can fall, but the signature on your wealth reads, no sorrow, no fine print, no regret. I receive what was promised. I keep what was spoken. I refuse to send abundance back unopened because someone else was afraid of the light. What if the real risk was never abundance, but the silence that let curses stay? What if the cost of keeping quiet is paid in the language of loss? Next, you'll decree what no curse can hold back. Stay. Don't move. The word that releases overflow is at the door. If you've been fearing blessing, you're one word from freedom. You are one breath away from the evidence that breaks every old agreement. Declare it again. His blessing makes me rich. I let go of every sorrow disguised as spiritual. I trade every superstition for what God has stamped with approval. The blessing is mine, not borrowed, not stolen, not shared with fear. Let this be the moment your story changes, the moment lack gets notice that its lease is up, the moment blessing moves in for good. Let your house remember the sound. Let your name echo with favor. Let your life bear witness that when the Lord blesses, there is no sorrow that can attach itself to you. The signature is clear. The terms are set. All that's left is for you to receive and never shrink back. He gives and He gives freely. The next word you speak could rewrite everything your blood ever believed about blessing. Don't stop now. The code to release abundance is coming. You are a king in your house. When you decree, things move. Angels run, laws shift, hell trembles. Your legacy is not written by accident or luck. It is built by the words that leave your mouth. What you never decree, you never see. The world is filled with silent dreamers and loud builders. Which one are you? What is the decree you've been too afraid to speak? The words you never release become the walls you can never pass. In Job 22:28 it says, "You will also declare a thing, and it will be established for you." This is the blueprint, the foundation, the master key. The promise was never hidden. It's waiting for a voice that dares to turn prophecy into property, hope into history. Decree it, establish it. What you speak, heaven builds. What you withhold, earth can never touch. A closed mouth is a locked door. You don't receive what you deserve. You receive what you decree. The wealth you never spoke is the wealth you never saw. There is no reward for silence in the kingdom. Heaven backs the words that align with its will. If you've only wished, you'll keep wishing. If you decree, you'll start collecting. This is not about empty shouting. This is about law. Heaven only establishes what the king declares. And in your house, that's you. Your voice is not a suggestion. It is a hammer breaking old structures. You decree, chains fall, gates open, angels deliver. I decree, every chain of lack breaks today. Wealth is established in my house. Speak it now. Let your floors remember this day. Let your bloodline feel the shockwave. The reason most inherit struggle is because they inherit silence, not decree. What have you decreed for your children? What curse did you leave unbroken by your silence? If you leave your future undecided, the world will fill it with noise. If you leave your table empty, others will decide who gets to eat. What blessing did your family never dare to activate? How long will you let your house echo prayers that never became decrees? It's time to change the sound in your rooms. Type your decree below. Speak it over your rooms. Write it for your legacy. Heaven is waiting for evidence, not excuses. I decree, my house is free from lack. My children inherit abundance. The chains of the past are broken by my word. You cannot change your ancestry, but you can change your legacy. You are the voice that turns mourning into dancing, drought into rain, vacancy into overflow. Comment your decree. Share this with someone still living under a word that isn't theirs. Say it aloud. Make heaven record your voice. The silence that built your prison cannot withstand the sound of your decree. Speak until your windows rattle, until your history bends. No one else can say it for you. No one else can open what you leave shut. Your decree is the bridge between what God promised and what you actually touch. You can inherit chains, or you can decree freedom. The next word could rebuild everything your ancestors lost. It doesn't matter who never spoke for you before. It doesn't matter how many years lack wrote your family script. This moment is a new page, and your decree is the pen. I decree, every empty place is filled. I decree, my future is established in abundance. Your voice is the only invitation heaven needs to start the construction. Your silence builds prisons. Your decree builds palaces. Let that reality settle. You have spoken enough lack. Now speak abundance. You have complained enough about the walls. Now build doors. The authority is not borrowed. It's granted, signed by heaven and stamped with your name. Don't let another night fall with your voice unused. What you declare now outlives your years. Your decree is not just for you, it's for the ones who come after. You're breaking the cycle, breaking the curse, building a new echo in the corridors of your house. I decree freedom, I establish wealth, I build with my voice. Repeat it until your name means breakthrough. Repeat it until every wall stops trembling and starts singing. The next activation moves what generations couldn't budge. You are not limited by your family's silence unless you repeat it. The past ends when a new decree begins. Don't leave your walls undecided. Don't let your future stay empty. Your decree is a law that no enemy can overturn, a contract signed in heaven's court. You're one decree away from new walls, new wealth, new legacy. Don't leave this unfinished. Stay. The supply is waiting for your voice. Speak it again. Type it again. Make your house a place where the sound of faith is louder than every echo of fear. What you decree, you establish. What you speak, you see. Heaven is listening. Earth is responding. The choice is yours. Chains or freedom, drought or overflow, silence or legacy. Lack is not your portion. Heaven's supply is not a rumor, it's your inheritance. The world wants you to settle for shortage, but shortage was never in your spiritual DNA. You are not designed for limits. You were written into a story of overflow before you ever opened your mouth. The overflow has your name written in glory. Why live with less when God has never downsized His glory? Who told you that empty pockets were proof of holiness? Who sold you the lie that you should only ask for daily bread when the bakery bears your last name? In Philippians 4:19 it says, "My God shall supply all your need according to His riches in glory." This is not about scraping by, not about holding your breath until the next breakthrough. It's about living in a supply chain that begins in heaven and ends at your front door. His riches in glory were never meant to be a distant echo. They are the pulse in your house, the echo in your bones, the reason you never have to bow to the market. You have not because you ask not, because you decree not. Heaven is never in recession. Markets crash, banks close, but the river of supply that flows from glory cannot be dammed. His riches don't run dry, they overflow. The storehouses of heaven do not answer to the headlines, the price of gold, or the interest rates of fear. There is a current running through your life that doesn't obey the droughts on earth. Speak it. God, you supply every need. Your glory covers every gap in my life. The holes in your story aren't a challenge for God's abundance. Every place you've been short, His glory is already pouring in. Every time you thought the story would end in lack, the supply had already left heaven's warehouse with your name on it. You don't have to chase provision, you have to inherit it. You don't have to squeeze your prayers into a box labeled just enough. Open your hands, open your mouth. My God supplies all my need, no exception, no expiration. If heaven has supply, why do you still ration hope? Who set the limit on your portion? Was it a memory, a parent, a culture, or the last failure that tried to define you? You are not called to measure your dreams by the size of your savings. Your faith has a source. And it's not your last paycheck. His riches and glory, He supplies every need. Overflow is my normal, lack is a stranger. Stop making room for drought. Stop leaving a seat at the table for fear. The meal has been paid for in glory. The invitation was signed in blood. God never sent you into the wilderness to build a home there. He brings you through to show you what supply really looks like. You survived lack, but you are meant to thrive in abundance. Speak it, write it, let your house hear a new sound. My supply comes from glory, not from circumstance. Declare it now, out loud, in writing, over your home. My supply comes from glory, not from circumstance. The report card, the diagnosis, the market trend, none of them outrank the riches of God. Comment your supply declaration. Share this with someone who's been counting coins but not calling down glory. Speak it until your lack can't find a place to hide. Speak it until the echo of survival is drowned out by the sound of supply. There is no pride in pretending you're okay with less than what God promised. There's no virtue in rationing abundance. You do not glorify God by starving your future. You honor Him by making room for everything He sent to your door. My God supplies all my needs, from glory for generations. The overflow is not for a season, it's for your bloodline. If you've only prayed for daily bread, what if God wrote the whole bakery in your name? What if the reason you never saw overflow was because you only ever spoke survival? The ceiling is not set by heaven, it's set by the last declaration you dared to believe. The key to overflow isn't in the vault, it's in your voice. Speak, I lack nothing in His abundance. My bills are covered by glory. My children's future is supplied by heaven. My dreams are fueled by a source that can't run out. Speak it until the fear breaks. Speak it until the drought forgets your address. Share this word with someone who needs a miracle, not just a paycheck. You can chase provision, or you can inherit supply. The next activation unlocks what no market can predict. Let the declaration become your atmosphere. Let it fill your rooms, run through your halls, saturate your tomorrow. My God supplies all my need. No exception, no expiration. I refuse to live one more day as if I am a stranger to overflow. I refuse to bow to the drought, to save prayers for rainy days, to speak shortage over my table. His riches and glory, He supplies every need. My supply is supernatural. Let the world be confused by your peace. Let your enemies stumble over your provision. Let your friends ask what river you're drinking from. Point them to the glory. Point them to the source. Comment your declaration. Pass the abundance. Repeat until supply becomes the only language spoken in your house. The overflow is waiting for your voice. Don't stop short. The windows are opening for those who dare to declare glory as their source. Speak, declare, inherit. Supply is your portion. Windows of heaven swing open at the sound of your decree. Blessing rushes in like a flood when you dare to say, "Pour it out, Lord." The forecast of your life changes not with the weather, but with your voice. There's a sound heaven waits for, a voice bold enough to trigger the downpour. How long will you stand outside when the windows are waiting for your command? Why beg at the door when your name is written on the deed? This is not a myth, it's the only reason dry seasons ever end. The blessing is not a visitor, it's waiting for someone willing to pull the handle and let rain rewrite the story. In Malachi 3:10 it says, "See if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour out for you such blessing." That's not an invitation to watch, it's a dare to declare. The windows are not stuck, they open at the sound of faith. They move when you call them by name. If you're tired of drought, tired of wishing, tired of hearing about miracles that never make it to your street, this is your moment. The only thing left between you and the flood is the first shout that cracks the sky. The windows of heaven are not sentimental. They respond to command, not complaint. There is a moment when silence robs you, but declaration brings the downpour. Heaven's windows respond to your voice, not your wish. You can stand on the porch and hope, or you can step into the rain. The flood doesn't wait for permission, just the decree. I command the windows of heaven to open. I call blessing to pour out over my life, my house, my bloodline. Let lack be washed away. Let every famine become a memory. The only language the windows understand is boldness. What would happen if today you stopped rehearsing disappointment and started prophesying overflow? Whose future changes when you dare to shout, "Open"? Will you let the rain pass, or will you call it down? Whose legacy gets soaked if you stay silent? Every promise you've stored on a shelf, every dream you covered in plastic, is waiting for this storm. The drought is stubborn, but the blessing is stronger. Declare it now. Shout it, write it, share it. Let the downpour be loud enough for the next generation to remember. Comment your window opening decree. Share this flood with someone stuck in drought. Save this moment. Repeat it every day until your house is soaked. Your voice is the trigger. Your faith is the forecast. No curse can close what God has scheduled to open. Don't let the memory of dry years keep you from dancing in the rain. When the windows open, you don't get a drizzle, you get a deluge. The flood will fill every empty place, every silent corner, every dusty hope. The blessing rushes past logic, leaps over delay, and soaks every seed you've ever planted. You don't have to make sense of it, you only have to receive it. Let every echo in your house become the sound of rain. Drought dies in the face of declaration. The famine flees at the first drop. You are not asking for charity, you are activating the covenant. The rain doesn't discriminate, it falls on every field that refuses to hide. It rushes in when your voice breaks the old pattern. The windows of heaven are open. My blessing pours out. My legacy is drenched. Let this be the generation known for overflow, not just for endurance. Let this be the day the drought gives up. Every miracle you've ever read about started with a voice that refused to accept the forecast. The difference between empty hands and full barns is the decision to declare. You can memorize the promise, or you can pull it down. The windows pour. The house is drenched. No lack survives. My legacy is rain-soaked. My future is written in the overflow. I am not defined by dry seasons. I am defined by what I dare to speak when the clouds gather. Let the city hear your declaration. Let your children remember the sound. Let heaven record the words you shout in the silence. There are angels waiting for the first drop. The blessing is not behind a paywall. It's not reserved for the qualified or the perfect. It's released for the ones who dare to open the window with nothing but faith. You can stand at the window, or you can command it open. Only one is wealth, the other is waiting. If you walk away silent, you'll miss the flood you were born for. But if you declare, you'll watch heaven rewrite your story in rain. Don't leave the blessing on the windowsill. Don't settle for the mist when you're promised the river. Declare now. Let every voice in your house join the shout. Let every room carry the sound of the downpour. Let your legacy be soaked in blessing. The windows are open, the blessing is falling. The only thing left to do is get drenched.